day and night.
Chase your tail light. I'll be under your skin, letting you go for a while. Then I'm taking you in. Your face like diamonds, a glimmer and punch. Shiny predator with a golden gun. Space age girl machine. Space age girl machine. Space age girl machine. Space age girl machine.
Ladies and gentlemen, Aquaman, Rick Stafford.
Hey guys. Hey.
Thanks for joining me.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure.
It's not often I get, cool cosplayers on my shows. Usually me doing the stuff.
Yeah.
So now we met through Athena.
Correct.
Like I'm just scrolling through and she's, commenting or sharing your stuff saying the true Aquaman. I'm like, let me see this. And I start clicking on stuff and you really look like Aquaman from the comics. Like when you're in
I
your
am
whole...
Aquaman from the comics. Yeah, I am. That's who I am.
I see you've got your,
My
your
scales.
shirt, and your logo, your emblem.
Yeah. I
Very
am what I am.
That's so cool. So
Yeah, I own it.
that's amazing. I love it. I really do. I have a trunk of stuff that I never get to pull out and just walk around in. I would just be awesome. I don't know if my family would think it's that awesome, but I do. I personally think it's fantastic.
My family referred to me as Aquaman. I mean, everybody does. I live, breathe, walk, talk, swim, Aquaman.
My big favorite is Wonder Woman. And the mayor of one of the towns around where I live actually owns our local comic book store. And for 20 years, I don't even think he actually knows my name. He just calls me Wonder Woman. And I took that as like, that's just a fantastic compliment. I will take it. Thank you. Appreciate it. I got into comic books and Wonder Woman growing up in a hospital for disabled children. It was a really amazing escape for me. And it taught you a lot of lessons on keeping going and inner strength, personal responsibility, just things to aspire to be. It was really good life lessons, but in a very, very positive and imaginative way. What got you into comic books and cosplaying Aquaman? Like, what do you like about Aquaman?
Ooh, okay. Here we go with the long story. I'll start with the long story because the short story I don't think does it justice. So this all started my journey into full-on geekdom about, let's just say in the early 2000s. Mm-hmm. And there was a little boy. His name was Christian. Adorable, little blonde-haired, blue-eyed little kid. And turned out he had leukemia. And at age 7. So while he was in the hospital, he got hooked on, of all things, Star Wars. He was watching SpongeBob, and these little 5-minute clips called Clone Wars came on. Now this wasn't the long 30-minute sessions that you see now. These were these little, in the same vein as Samurai Jack, same style, same artist. Yeah. And so he was like, what is this Star Wars I keep seeing? And I said, well, hey, that's my childhood. I'm a kid of the 70s. And I said, well, let's get you into this. So I gave him the DVDs, and he sat there with a little DVD player and TV screen and just watched these things over and over and over again. And he got obsessed with it. And then one night at the hospital, he turned to me and said, "Am I going through my Jedi trials?" And at this point, he did not understand cancer. He didn't understand the gravity of his situation. He just knew he had been separated away from people and was being treated very special. So I lied to him, and I said, "Yes, you're becoming a Jedi." So I found a Jedi outfit and I found a lightsaber for him, and I gave that to him, and he thought that was just the most amazing thing. And so he took on the persona, but it wasn't good enough. He's like, "Well, I need a Jedi master." I said, "Oh, okay."
Smart kid.
Yeah, he was. Well, this was back before you could go to Books a Million or Barnes and Noble and find books on becoming a Jedi. Now there's Padawan 101, The Way of the Jedi. You can find all these books. Well, that wasn't what this was almost 20 years ago. So you couldn't find those. So I went out and I found books on meditation. I found books on thoughtfulness and how to pursue a thoughtful way of life. I studied the Buddhist monks because I found out that's what George Lucas had based the Jedi on. I even went to a Buddhist temple and started learning the ways of becoming Buddhist, so that I could come back to the hospital for this little boy and be his master. So I went out and I spent about $500 on this beautiful Jedi master outfit, another $500 on a pair of Jedi boots, and I went out and bought myself this lightsaber, the metal hilt sound making lightsaber, just like he had. And I studied sword fighting so that we could practice sword fighting techniques. And so every time I'd come to visit Christian, we would practice. We'd practice meditation. We'd practice, what it is to be thoughtful of others. What it is to be giving of yourself. And then we'd do some sword fighting from the bed, and I'd stand there and we'd practice different maneuvers. So this worked out really well until he was put on hospice. It turned out that his leukemia was not one of the lucky 80%. He was going to be one of the 20%. So I got on the internet and I found a group called the 501st. And it's a Star Wars costuming group.
Mhm.
And I said, "Hey guys, there's this little boy who he's being sent home, and he's a super Star Wars fan. There was an event at Disney World at the time called Star Wars Weekends. And I kept trying to set it up where he could go to see Star Wars Weekends, but his blood counts, his red cell counts were never high, or his white cell counts were never high enough for him to be allowed to go up from the hospital out to see that. So I said, all right, let's bring a little of that to him. And so I contacted the group, and they said, yeah, we would love to do this. We would absolutely love to do this. And I said, all right, well, this is where he's going to be. Can you come on this particular day? And they said, well, no, we have this big event in Orlando called MegaCon. Can we wait a couple of weeks and regroup after this big event? I said, all right, just guys realize, you're working on borrowed time here. This little boy doesn't have a whole lot of time. So they set the date. Well, unfortunately, he passed away the weekend in between.
Oh, that's terrible.
So I said, hey guys, look, you couldn't be there for him in life. Would you be willing to be part of his honor guard at his memorial or his celebration of life ceremony? And they said, yes, by all means. So I got with them, gave them the location, and the morning of that ceremony, they turned out from all over the state of Florida. I mean, from the Keys to Panama City and Pensacola, everywhere, just all over. And these guys, they showed up, and I'd never seen these guys before. And they just showed up in these big bins, and they start unloading and putting on, and it was a magical experience to watch. And not only, so when you walked into the Memorial Center, it was Baldwin Fairchild Chapel, you walked through a line of stormtroopers, clone troopers, and Jedis. And then as everyone was seated, they came in and formed, and there was a viewing room off to the side of the chapel, and they all filed in, and they stood at attention, and they all removed their helmets, or what they call buckets, and held them and stood at attention while the ceremony was played out. And then halfway through, a representative from that group, the 501st, and another representative from a group called the Rebel Legion, which is the good guy costuming group. So you have the 501st is all the bad guys doing good, and then you've got the Rebel Legion. So both groups came out, and not only did they honor him, they made him an honorary member of the 501st with a number designation. He was Clone Trooper 1219. His birthday is the 19th of December, which for your listeners and viewers, it will be tomorrow. Yeah, he would have been 26 tomorrow. So they made him a member. Again, TC represents Clone Trooper. Well, because he loved the Jedi, instead of making him a Stormtrooper, they made him a Clone Trooper, which at the time was the Army of the Republic. Because he had only seen the Clone Wars. Revenge of the Sith was still about 3 months away from coming out. So, and then the Jedi made him an honorary Jedi instead of a Padawan. They actually promoted him to Jedi. So he was a Jedi. And then that night at the after event, the local group leader came out and tapped on the glass. Got everybody's attention and said, "Hey, Rick, what you did for this boy was so amazing that we would like you to be part of our group." And then they brought out this big box, and in the box was a kit for a Clone Trooper costume. And they said, "You've got 3 months to build this suit and meet us in Miami for the opening night of Revenge of the Sith." And I said, "Okay."
That's so cool.
And so the day after that, well, let me backtrack a little bit. So the day after he passed away, I went to the crematorium and had them bring him out to me. And I removed the t-shirt and shorts he was wearing, and I dressed him one last time as a Jedi.
Wow.
And I kissed my son on his forehead for the last time before they took him to the furnace.
This was your son?
This was my son.
Oh, Rick.
I told you this was...
my lungs just like...
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I have 4 kids myself, and we've been through it. And I just can't imagine. I cannot. I can't. And I feel like my soul is crumbling trying to. That is what no parent should ever go through what you have gone through. But
and I've often said no parent should ever have a birth and death certificate in the same envelope.
No, they shouldn't.
And I held him for his last breath. My hand was on his heart when it stopped beating. So I was there to the bitter end.
Oh my gosh.
And so I spent the next 3 months learning how to. I burned out 3 Dremel tools. Spent more time in Joann's fabrics than I ever thought I would as a male. Getting pop rivets and elastic and spandex and JB Weld, and learning how to put all these pieces together. And the problem is most of the guys in this group were stormtroopers. Well, the Clone Trooper armor and the Stormtrooper armor are completely different builds. In fact, the Clone Troopers in the movie at that point were all CGI. So they weren't even real people wearing costumes like they were in the prequel or in the A New Hope, Empire, and Return of the Jedi. So, And at this time, this was only the 4th or 5th set of clone armor ever made. So I didn't have a whole lot of help making this.
Yeah.
And so I had to make it work, and I did. So 3 months passed. I got the armor done and the paint job on the helmet, everything done the day before the event, and went to the event. And this was back when they would still have what they call manager screenings, and they would do midnight premieres.
Mm-hmm.
So at midnight, we were going to be on as our characters. But we, at 7:00, got to see the movie early. And so I went to the concession stand and I bought a hot dog, nacho, and a pink lemonade. And that sat in the seat next to me. And then the cup holder that separated my seat from that seat sat his ashes, because I had promised him he would see the movie with me. And I honored my promise to him. And every Star Wars movie that has come out since, I've gone to the theater, and his ashes have gone with me. And his ashes are in a small aluminum sports bottle like you'd see on a climber. And it has the Jedi symbol affixed to the outside of it. And it's kept inside a Lego Yoda that I built. I glued half of it from the middle up, and from the middle down are all glued. So it separates in the middle so I can put his ashes inside. So he is always part of a Jedi.
I am ordained in the Jedi Temple.
Huh?
I'm a Jedi priestess.
Well, then you can do a Jedi prayer for him.
That is an absolutely amazing story. I don't even know what to say. 10 years ago, I lost my baby brother. He 6 years younger than me. But if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be into any of this stuff. We were so close because we loved Monty Python and Doctor Who and the X-Men and Star Wars and Star Trek. We loved that stuff together. And I don't have his ashes. My parents do, but I have a necklace that's him. And anytime something new comes out, I do go wearing that necklace. I take him with me. And I've been asked to be quiet several times because I will talk to him while I'm watching this movie. I'm like, wait, this is not, no, I know, right? This isn't what we expected at all. It's just a beautiful, it is just soul wrenching but what a beautiful tribute.
Yes, but the original question was, how did I get into Aquaman? So, but I had to lay the groundwork.
Oh no, you did perfect. You and Athena are way better at this than I am.
So from there, a lot of things started to happen for me. I wound up in a movie called Heart of an Empire. It's really hard to find now. It was available on YouTube for a while, but the rights of the movie were bought out by an Australian film firm that for a while was producing the DVD, but it was in PAL format. So even if you got it in the United States, you'd have to have it on a computer or a PAL playing type DVD player. But it was my first real documentary, and it was a major deal. We had a big red carpet movie premiere here in Orlando for it. The mayor made it Star Wars Day. It was a big deal. So that happened for me. I wound up being flown to New York, and I marched on Times Square as part of the DVD release of Revenge of the Sith and Battlefront 2. The video game came out, so we went to the Javits Center for an electronic conference. It wasn't Comic-Con. It was a big electronic conference. The mayor made it Star Wars Day then. And I was flown up there by Lucas Arts. So it was the video game company that flew us up. We marched on Times Square. I wound up on the front cover of the New York Times. The Empire takes the Empire State. And because I had what they call a BFG, or the big F gun, they put me up front with Vader. And because of the angle the photographer was sitting at, I'm centered and Vader's behind me. So I was actually front and center in the photo. So it's a beautiful photo.
Awesome.
And they put us up in the New Yorker. It was just a surreal experience. And then they Lucasfilms put out a request for stormtroopers for the Rose Bowl parade out in Pasadena because George Lucas was being made the Grand Marshal, and he wanted 200 stormtroopers from around the world. And so everybody submitted videos of us marching and, in our best, trying to impress the selection committee, because there are thousands of us in the world and only 200 could be selected. So I submitted and I didn't get picked, but a friend of mine did, a female named Karen Sarna. And she needed a location for what we call an armor party, which is where we as stormtroopers would get together and help each other build our kits and upgrade them, modify them, do whatever. Well, she lived in a small apartment and couldn't use her house. So she said, anybody in town able to host a party? I said, I can. I said, well, we've got a film crew coming with us from Lucasfilms, because they picked a handful of the people that were selected to follow for a documentary they were working on called Star Warriors. So she shows up, this 2 van-fulls of producers and camera and sound guys and PAs and all of the movie finalia people pile out of the cars and vans and set up and start filming. Well, one of the camera guys asked, hey, can I use your restroom? I said, sure, it's, down here and to the hall. And as he came back, he goes, oh, whose room is that? I said, well, that's Christian's room. Oh, can we put him on camera? He's not here, because I couldn't break myself because it was all Star Wars. The whole room was just full of Star Wars. And I said, no, he's not with us anymore. Oh, well, can we interview you? I said, sure. So they go into the room, set up the camera, and interview me. The day was great. We had a great time. I got to see what a real reality show is, how it's filmed. It's a lot of fake shots. And,
yeah, it's not real.
I mean, yeah, it's not real. It was pretty much all staged. But it made for great footage, B-roll stuff. So about a week later, I get a phone call, and this is now about this is the beginning of December, and I get the call, and it's such and such from Lucasfilm. They said, do you have any plans for New Year's? And my response was, do I have any plans for New Year's? And they said, we would like to cordially invite you to be part of the Rose Bowl parade group. And but we're on a short time frame now. We're going to have to FedEx the paperwork. You're going to have to send it out, send it right back to us in order for you to get your plane tickets and all that. So I said, all right, sure. So we did it, and I wound up being part of the Rose Bowl parade and part of the documentary. And they followed me along with Karen and a bunch of other people from Spain and Mexico and Japan and Belgium. And so I was put up in this hotel in Pasadena, right outside of Universal Studios. And in fact, the hotel that they used was actually the same hotel that was General Hospital.
Oh my gosh.
It's the same hospital, or it's the same building. But what they do is the hospital that they use in the shot is actually a hotel, and that's the loading dock where you see the ambulance. That's just a loading dock for this hotel. So it's the same hotel as General Hospital.
My father.
Yeah.
He loves that show.
So we got to march in the Rose Bowl parade, and I met troopers from around the world. And to this day, I am still super close friends with so many of these people from Italy and Belgium and Mexico and just all over the country. And it was a surreal experience. And so the documentary wound up on the Blu-ray Star Wars pack. So if you had the Blu-ray set, it's one of the extra features, and you can watch it. And I'm on that.
That's so cool.
So that was my second documentary. And so after I'd been in the Star Wars group, I performed with Weird Al Yankovic on stage. as part of the 501st. I did Star Wars weekends for many years. I got involved with the Rebel Legion. I was a X-wing pilot with them and became squadron commander. I was the squad leader in a Florida garrison group called Makazi Squad. So I mean, I had done it all, everything I could possibly do. Well, the group, some of the guys in the group locally here in the Orlando area got a little disenchanted with just always doing Star Wars. So they said, let's do something else. So they broke off and started another costuming group, still members, but over here doing other stuff. And they said, hey, let's do video game characters. So we got into Resident Evil. And some of us dressed as zombies. Some of us were the Umbrella Corporation. Some of us were Raccoon City. I'm not sure how much of a video gamer you are as far as that.
So like I said, I have 4 kids. My oldest is 23.
Okay.
My 2 oldest are boys, and they're my kids, so way into video games and comic books. And I'm right there with you, pal.
All right. So we did that for a while. Then we went from there. We went to Apocalypse. So we did kind of Mad Max Apocalypse outfits, and we would go to a big convention in Atlanta called Dragon Con, and we'd be part of the parade. And we had the Mad Max vehicles and stuff, and a bunch of us dressed up. So it was cool. And then they're like, well, we want to do charity work, but we can't do charity work dressed as an apocalypse. We can't really do charity work. So how about we do superheroes? And they said, let's, Marvel movies were just kicking off. Mm-hmm. And it's, let's do Marvel. So, somebody said, did Thor and all that. Well, at the time, I was an Iron Man triathlete. I had done an Iron Man, and I'd done a bunch of half Iron Mans.
You're just impressive.
Athena will tell you, don't ask me what I've done. Ask me what I haven't. And maybe I can come up with a handful of things. So I'd run over 100 marathons and triathlons, including an Ironman, and I found a suit, an Iron Man suit. Now the movie had only been out about a year, and this suit wasn't designed to be worn. It was a display piece, but it was the most accurate looking thing I could find. Nobody else really had suits, so I bought it. And it took me about 3 months of ripping the insides of the thing, dremeling it, getting it to work out, to finally get this suit to work as an Iron Man suit. Now it weighs 85 pounds, and it is solid resin. It's a resin cast, so it's like walking around as a giant coffee cup.
Yeah.
And now the helmet is actually is a fiberglass plaster molded helmet. Yeah. Yeah. So the suit, when I walk around on hard floor, I sound like RoboCop walking around, the and it was a huge hit. I mean, I would literally have queue lines set up at major conventions where I'd have people coming in from 2 different angles. The photographer would be set up in the middle, and I learned to do something called the Iron Man shuffle. So I had put these little tap lights in my palms with 3M material on them. Mm-hmm. So if a flash photo was taken, that 3M would reflect, and I had it around my arc reactor, so it would really, really pop. But I would click it on, click it off, click it on, click it off. So as somebody would come in from my right, I'd click on the left, put it out, and pose. And then that person would go away. Then somebody come in from my left. So I'd click on the right one and go and step forward. And so for an hour, I would do what I call the Iron Man shuffle.
That's
back
funny.
And forth. And that was great. And we had a good time doing these characters. And then they decided, hey, let's do DC. We've done Marvel. Let's do DC. Oh, Batman, Superman, Green Lantern, Wonder Woman. Rick, you should be Aquaman. I don't want to be Aquaman. Nobody likes Aquaman. Everyone. And now, oh, come on, man. You work at an aquarium, because at the time I was working at Disney as a shark diver. And at that point, I'd already swam around Key West in a competition, came in first place. I did 12 miles in 4 hours and 23 minutes around the island of Key West. From Hanover Beach to Hanover Beach.
Who am I talking to? Hold on.
so finally I gave in and said, fine, I'll do it. And I had a friend who was a seamstress who worked for SeaWorld and made the costumes for the water performers. And so she went out or at their shop, they had something called a dye supplementation machine, which would take spandex and you put it and you get into a computer, you put a pattern in, and it would print the pattern onto spandex.
Oh, nice. Handy.
Yeah, like this is dye subbed. So the pattern is on here. Well, so she printed the pattern and she made my first Aquaman costume for me. And actually, she made multiple Aquaman costumes for me. And very talented, Tawanda Chandler. She lives out in LA now and works in the movie business, in TV
She's
business.
your Edna.
Yeah. And so I had a silicone belt. The shoes were scuba booties sewn into the pants. So the suit was completely water usable.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So it's a truly, I've been in the ocean, I've been in lakes, I've been in pools, you name it. So I started performing as Aquaman. Well, exactly what I expected to have happen happened. Meaning I would be at a convention and be like, oh, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, get together. Yeah, Aquaman, if you want to get in there too.
Ah,
yeah. Yeah. Or I'd be like, hey, Mermaid Man. I think, oh, I don't have a starfish on my face. Okay. But I did later do this. I did later convert one of my older Aquaman costumes. I have 13 right now, 13
Wow.
Aquaman outfits. Yeah. I'm working on number 14. I just can't find a good seamstress anymore because Tawanda is now in LA, so it's kind of hard to find good work. People who know what they're doing, especially with spandex.
This is true.
So I took one of my older suits. I made a belt with an M on it. I got my face. I did a plaster casting of my face. Had a guy do a form, and we actually did an actual prosthetic. So I have a prosthetic starfish, and I have 2 shells that click on with magnets. So I do the younger version of Mermaid Man, not the old, slipper wearing chubby one.
Do you have a barnacle boy?
I have had barnacle boys in the past. I don't have a dedicated one. But the reason being is I would go to hospital visits, and the kids at the time didn't always know who Aquaman was, but they definitely knew Mermaid Man.
Right.
So I would go in there with a burnt bag of popcorn, because and if the kids had where, and I'd point out and say, hey, there's the Mermaid Man mobile over there, and I'd point at an empty spot because he had his invisible car. So, I got into the full character. I had to learn how the character acted and what he was like in comparison to Aquaman. But that was the thing with the 501st is I was doing hospital visits. I was doing the charity work. I did a lot of charity work. In fact, one of the hardest days I ever did was go back to Wilson's Medical Center in Jacksonville and go into my son's room to visit another child with cancer as a clone trooper. And thankfully, I had a helmet. I had a helmet on because that was rough. That was very rough.
I can't imagine.
So, but yes, I've done lots and lots and lots of charity work at hospitals and clinics and different facilities for children, pediatrics. So, getting back to where I was. So here I am now, Aquaman, and I'm at a major convention in Orlando called MegaCon. And while I'm at the convention, a friend, I was actually doing a charity event there for artists that needed healthcare. And so I was working with people like George Perez and whatnot. And yes,
he is the true artist of Wonder Woman. He is. I have several George Perez Wonder Woman comic books. Please continue. I'm sorry. I just had.
Yeah. Oh, no. Uncle George is awesome. And in fact, and I'll get to a story about that that'll blow your mind here in a bit. So there was a couple there, and the husband wanted me to help take his wife back to her hotel room because she had epilepsy. And because I have medical training, I was a firefighter at one point, a firefighter EMT for a while. And yes,
scratching things off the list.
So So he trusted me to get her back. So if she had an episode, well, as we're walking back, a woman comes up and says, "My friend here would like a photo with you. This old friend of mine." Okay, no problem. I go over, and this old man with glasses on stands there, and I do my hero poses, and I go to leave, and he grabs my arm, and he goes, "You're just as I imagined you would look." I said, "Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate that." So I go to walk away. He grabs me a second time. He goes, "No, no, no, son. You're the living embodiment of my imagination. You're awesome." I said, "Well, thank you." Again, I take a lot of pride in this. And I go to leave again. And he grabs me a third time. Now, he's an old man. I could take him if I had to. You get some weird fans out there. And he goes, "Son, you don't know who I am, do you?" I said, "No, sir, I don't." He goes, "My name is Nick Carty. I'm the Silver Age creator of Aquaman. And you truly are the Aquaman I imagined
Yeah.
when I was drawing you."
Oh my!
And that's how I got the name, the True Aquaman.
Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh!
Yeah. So going forward from there, I was like, okay, yeah, I think I now need to kind of, I just got the seal of approval that I need to kind of stay this character and stay the course with this
Yeah,
character.
wow. I mean, you really can't ignore
Yeah, you can't
that.
argue with that.
When the
Yeah.
creator tells you, "Oh my god!" I mean, what a moment for him
Yeah.
to
Now,
see.
now he's not the original creator. He was the Silver
Right,
Age. So
right.
Aquaman did not have his own title until the 60s. Now he was created in 1941.
Mhm.
He came out, what was it 3 months or 6 months before Wonder Woman. So to be
Mhm.
honest, it was Superman, Batman, Aquaman,
Wait,
Wonder Woman. So,
I'm going
but
back.
he didn't actually have his own title until the 1960s,
I
and that was
got
with Nick
you.
Carty.
You were absolutely right. She came out in 41.
Yeah.
I have like 3 episodes talking about Wonder Woman. I should know that off the top of my head.
Yep.
You beat me. Go
So,
for it.
that's okay. That's okay. Hey, no, I know my history, comic book history now, and I had to learn all this. I didn't, I wasn't a comic geek growing up. In fact, far from it. I was some of the career paths that I've had, I don't even talk about. So, yeah, I used to do bad things to bad people, and yes. So anyway, but we won't get into that
So
part
did
because
my grandpa.
yeah. So, but yeah, but now I do good things for good people, and that's how I look at it. I did it after my son passed. I had what they call a paradigm shift, and it totally changed my persona of who I was. So, I mean, I was a law enforcement diving instructor. I used to teach pseudo Navy SEAL training to law enforcement and SWAT teams down in Miami. Yeah.
I,
So
I had no idea who I scheduled to talk to today.
I
you,
warned you.
yeah, you are one cool dude.
Oh,
I mean, this.
well, and I was a school teacher too for 3 years. I taught middle school for 1, high school for 2, taught American government, American history.
God bless you. That is a service. I have 2 teenagers right now. I've been raising teenagers for 10 years. I have no clue what I'm doing. And I have taught, I was a cosmetology instructor, teacher for a brief time, and teaching grown women. Not fun, not enjoyable.
Nope.
Nope. But
I can only imagine the cat fights.
listen, you got over 150, 200 women of different walks of life and ages under one roof. They're not all going to handle things with grace and humility.
Nope. Nope.
No. And neither at all ever will middle schoolers or high schoolers.
Nope.
So
Nope.
I
No,
salute
and
you,
I
sir.
intentionally I wanted the juniors and the seniors. When I got to the high school level, I wanted those grade levels because I wanted to be one of the last voices of reason for them before they hit the real world.
Do they hear those? Do they hear
I
voices
mean,
of reason?
they did because I was actually voted. I mean, I got Teacher of the Month.
No.
I had students that would stay in my class when they weren't supposed to because they loved my lectures and the way I presented the material. I was actually cosplaying before I even cosplayed. So I would dress up when we taught the Civil War. I actually had a friend of mine who went to the Citadel, so he had a Civil War type uniform of the Confederacy. I would wear that and teach Civil War. When we taught the
Brilliant.
Great Depression, I would wear a disheveled outfit, and ticker tape coming out, and have a cup full of pencils, and I would play music from the era and print up newspaper articles on legal paper. So it'd be like looking at
Yeah.
newspapers with the articles about the Great Depression and immerse the students. In World War II, I would wear naval whites and teach about the battles of World War II. During the space race, there was a local place that had a spacesuit for rent, and I would rent that spacesuit and be in a full astronaut suit, the big bulky one with the big
Yes,
valves on it.
it's so
Yeah.
cool.
So
And
I was cosplaying before I even realized what cosplay was.
yeah, same. And then I hear the
Yeah.
term cosplay, and it sounded almost like a dirty word. Like, oh, I don't
Mhm.
do costumes. Yeah, I do. That's fun. That's cool. But history, I've always felt that history and government are two of some of the most important things you can teach kids in
Mhm.
school. For one reason, one being he who does not know his history is doomed to repeat it, and
Exactly. Exactly.
it really seems like people en masse tend to forget there's their middle school and high school civics classes when
Yep.
they grow up and they start voting. And I'm
Well,
not
yep.
saying anything about that. I'm
Yeah.
just saying they forget how the process is supposed to work. And you so
Yeah. If
thank
they
you.
really looked at the rules and the laws that were initially established, this country would be run in a whole different way.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's not
But
supposed to be a
unfortunately,
gateway to fame and fortune. It's supposed to be like
nope.
jury duty.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Term limitations on Congress. What? I'm sorry. Did that come out? Uh,
Yes.
so
Oh,
anyway, getting back to Aquaman.
right.
So I had my friend Tawanda make me a new suit, and I kind of gave her some ideas. Hey, how about we do this? And so she came up with this new suit. Well, then DC Comics did a full-on reboot about 15 years ago called the New 52.
Ah.
They took everybody. They took everybody, and they put it back to one because they were hoping to get new readers in.
Mhm.
Because if you can get a number one, you would get in and say, "All right, I'm at the beginning. I can start from here and move forward." So it was a concept.
Mhm.
Well, in fact, and this is where George comes in, Uncle George. Um, I'm actually the helicopter pilot for Superman New 52 for the Daily Planet. Yeah, George loved me, and I was one of his friends. So yes, I am. If you look in episode number 1 of Superman New 52, Lois calls out for Stafford, "Get down here, I need you." And
Oh
so he
my
wrote me
god. You have no idea
because
how jealous I am.
so George wrote me in as the Daily Planet's helicopter pilot in the New 52 series.
That is that is so cool. That is
Yeah.
so cool. That is so cool. I
Yeah, now
just
he did that to a lot of his friends, but he
I
incorporate
just
a lot of his
I'm
friends from.
staring at my George Perez comic books, and I'm like, that is just all I've ever wanted in life is to be in a comic book.
Yeah, I actually have pieces on my wall of him. He drew of me as Aquaman, and then I gave him I gave him his art book. It's a hardcover book that he did, and it's got his wife Patricia on the front of it
Mhm.
with a dragon. And I gave it to him one time and said, "Hey, would you sign this for me?" And Patricia signed it, and I left it with him. And he said, "Yeah, come back in about an hour." So I did, and because he had a line of people,
Mm.
he had stopped what he was doing. Not only did he sign it, he did a sketch of me inside the cover of the book.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, that's just how awesome he was.
I just want to
And
follow you around and like catch your throwbacks. That is just oh
all right.
man.
So I had this new suit now. It was a high collar, had gold on it,
Mm.
and had made a new trident. And so when the new 52 Aquaman came out, people started saying, "Hey, you look just like the new 52 Aquaman." I said, "Well, I look like Aquaman. Of course I'm going to look like the new 50." No, 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 no. You really look like the new 52 Aquaman. I was like, okay. I hadn't gotten around to picking it up yet. And they're like, "Yeah, I mean, some of the poses he does look like you and all this." I said, "Well, I mean, I pose like Aquaman, so of course. I mean, it just."
Right.
So finally, I looked at it and said, "Yeah, okay, maybe there's something here." Well, I found out that the artist, a guy named Paul, and I'll probably massacre his last name, Petlinger, probably not how you pronounce it. But anyway, he was the main artist for the new 52 Aquaman. And so he was at a convention here in Cocoa, or here in Central Florida, in Cocoa Beach. And so I said, "All right, I'm gonna go face this guy and find out what's going on." So I walk up to the table, and he's sketching away. And he looks up, and his eyes get really big, and he's like, "You're the dude. You're the dude I've been using as my reference
Oh my gosh.
because I've been seeing all your images on social media, and you fit the part. So I've just been using you as the likeness for the new 52 Aquaman." So
it's so cool. That is just so cool.
And so yeah, so then I kind of became known as the face of Aquaman. And then so then I had this armor made. A company out of Texas called Prince Armory. A guy named Sam owns the company, and him and I collaborated on this outfit because at the time I loved Game of Thrones. I mean, I still do love Game of Thrones.
Oh yeah.
And every king had cool armor. Well, I said, well, Aquaman's a king. He should have cool armor. Something he does when he does regal ceremony. It wouldn't be his superhero fighting costume. It would be his duty uniform, or what he would sit on the throne.
Has her royal armor too.
Yeah. So we worked on the idea. We came up with a concept, and I said, "All right, we're good to go," and gave him a deposit. And a year later, it took him a year. It's all leather. He came up with my King Aquaman armor, and I don't know if I have a picture of it nearby, but you can
always send it to me. And I can.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You'll. So
that's freaking cool.
So now I have this King armor, and so that blew up all over social media, and everybody then knew of the true Aquaman with this armor. Well, that armor then showed up in Injustice 2 video game. So it's one of the skins that Aquaman has. Yes.
That's your armor?
That's my armor in the game. Yeah. Now they modified it slightly, but it's very obvious when you put them side by side. It's my armor. Well, that was for one, and then Injustice 2, I had made a gladiator version of my Aquaman, and I'd used parts of my armor, and I made a chest strap, and I had some netting hanging off the side, but it was a gladiator version. And so then Injustice 2, what happens? They have a gladiator version. So I wound up in Injustice 1 and Injustice 2 video game. And
it is that's so cool. That is so cool. That is, I mean, the anything any big nerd could ever just dream of. It really is. That's so neat.
Well, and I often tell people that I Forrest Gump my way through life. I don't say no a lot. So if an opportunity presents itself, I typically say yes, and it just leads me on a new adventure that I never thought I'd be at. So, and that's happened so many times. I've been now, I'm an international cosplayer. So I've been to Puerto Rico, which is not international, but it is completely different piece of the world. I've been to Mexico multiple times as a guest. I've been from California to New York to Miami. I've just all over the country, California, just everywhere. So I travel a lot, and of course that's how I met Athena. Was at a small convention, a very small convention. I don't know if she told you that story, but it's a fun story. All right, so her and I both were guests at this very, very small convention in Mount Dora, Florida. And when I say small, look at your room and times that maybe by 3. That's, I mean, it was It was a little bitty thing, but we both were friends to the promoter, and we both agreed to do it.
Hmm.
I had no idea who she was. She had no idea. Well, because it was such a small convention, I didn't go with Aquaman. I actually put on the Vault Boy suit, or a Vault Dweller suit from Fallout, because I'm a big Fallout fan, and I play just about every day Fallout. I love Fallout. And she, being an artist, wasn't promoting who she was. She was promoting her artwork. Well, she sees me walk by and said, "Hey, nice outfit." I don't know what it is, but I like it. What she was actually saying was, "I like how tight that outfit is."
Good for her. Good for
And
her.
so she goes, "Can I friend you on social media?" I said, "Sure, no problem." So we become friends. So about 3 months after that convention, I made a post on social media about a birthday get together for anybody who wanted to show up at Disney Springs. And for those people who aren't familiar, Disney Springs is the big shopping and entertainment venue for Disney World in Orlando. And it's free to attend, to go there. It's like a big shopping area and restaurants.
And that's
so I said,
where
hey,
Edison's is, right?
yeah, yep, right in the center of it.
Mm-hmm.
So right by the bridge.
Mm-hmm.
With the big mechanical wheels and everything.
Oh, it's awesome. I love it.
Yeah, it's a beautiful place. And so I said, does anybody want to come meet me there, and we'll figure out what we want to do when we get there. Maybe see a movie, maybe grab a bite to eat. Just we'll do something, but just to celebrate as in mass. Well, she sends me a message and says, "Hey, can I attend your event?" I said, "Sure, it's open to anybody." And she goes, "Well, I'm coming from Fort Lauderdale. Would I need a hotel room?" I said, "I have a spare bedroom if you don't mind using it." I said, "I'm safe. I promise." And she goes, "Yeah." And I kind of got that when we met. And so she comes up. She's part of the birthday celebration. That night, we come back to the house, and we're sitting on the couch. And she goes, "Do you have Hulu?" And I said, "No, but I have a smart TV." And she said, "Well, there's this cool documentary called Batman and Bill."
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, I love documentaries. So we start watching. She loads up Hulu onto my TV, and we start watching it. And about 3/4 of the way through, and I'm assuming by now you've seen the documentary.
Oh, yep. Many
Okay.
times.
So Mark Nobleman, who they follow, the primary character they follow throughout the story, on his working on the book Bill the Boy Wonder, goes up to a door in Fort Lauderdale, knocks on the door, and lo and behold, the woman who's sitting next to me answers the door on the screen, and it's like, "Oh, you're the granddaughter of the creator of Batman. How cool." So we finished watching that.
I like her
and I said,
style.
well, I've got a documentary. So I have a copy of the DVD and of Heart of the Empire. So I said, "Here, let's watch mine." So it shows how I got involved with the 501st and became who I am and all that. So I said, "How cool is that? We both have IMDb credits for documentaries." So that was all great and good. And then about a week or so later, she calls me and says, "Hey, you told me you had a Universal Studios pass." And I said, "Yeah." And she goes, "Well, I love Universal Studios. Would you mind if I came up and bought a day pass? Would you go with me?" I said, "Sure." So we go. We have a great time. End of the day, she takes her pass over to customer service and converts it to an annual pass. And so then every few weeks, she'd call and say, "Hey, can I come up and use my annual pass? And would you go with me? And let me use your spare bedroom and all that?" "Yeah, no problem." So this happens for about 3 months. Finally, after about 3 months, we're leaving Universal Studios. And as we're walking out, she grabs me and spins me around and goes, "Look, I really like Universal Studios, but it's a 3.5-hour drive. I'm trying to date you. So are we dating or not?" And I said, "Sure, that sounds good. That sounds like a good idea." So that's how we started dating.
I love her. I love her.
Oh,
She's
well,
so cool.
well, our engagement story is even better.
Oh, let's hear it.
Okay, so the initial plan for the engagement was I did the Appalachian Trail. I started in Georgia, and then my goal was to walk all the way to Maine. So, and then what I was going to do was I was going to have her meet me in Maine and climb Katahdin, which is the last mountain that you go to, the top of Katahdin. And I was going to propose there. Now, I'd already contacted her son, and I'd already contacted her half sister, and got both of their permission to propose, and they both loved the idea. Well, I got to mile 750 and wound up tearing my meniscus and my MCL in my right knee.
Oh, yeah, done that.
So, but that didn't stop me. So I still went another 250 miles.
You're insane.
Yeah, and so as I would go down hills, my knee would every once in a while go backwards because I didn't have the ligament to stop the kneecap from going backwards. And so by the time I got to mile 1025, which was in Harper's Ferry, all I had been doing was pain management day in, day out. So the fun of continuing on was gone. It was now just drudgery. It was pain every day, and nothing I could do would stop it. I took a few days off in a couple of trail towns, and it didn't stop the pain from coming back as soon as I got back on trail. So I figured, all right, I have to give up on the trail. And so it was very heartbreaking because my goal was, and I'm not done yet. I have a goal to get back on trail in 2025 and finish from West Virginia all the way to Maine in about 3 months. So I said, all right, well, that didn't work out the way I wanted it. Got to come up with a plan B. Well, I knew there was a military jump school, paratrooper school, that was going on in October. So I signed up for that and went to jump school. I got cleared by the doctor to jump, even with my bad knee. Luckily, she was a former paratrooper and said, yeah, I think, because I self-healed myself. I didn't actually have any surgery or anything done. I actually rehabbed myself by swimming. I immediately got back in and started doing mile after mile of swimming in a lake. And to the point where I had healed myself too far beyond what the doctor would be allowed to get insurance to cover. So I rehabbed myself.
Oh, wow.
And so then I go to jump school, and I decide I'm going to go ahead and do the proposal at jump school. So it's a week-long course to get certified as a paratrooper.
Yeah, that's right.
And
scratch that one off too.
So I go through the whole week. I've done all these jumps from all kinds of different aircraft, and so the very last jump is your blood wing jump. And the way they do blood wings is, if you've ever had a pin like a where they take the little backs off and it's got those little short tacks. Right. All right. So what they do is they put that in and they punch it in.
Yep.
Well, I talked to all of the special forces guys that were running this program and said, I'm going to do this. And they're like, all right, so we're going to set it up special. Normally we would do it during the banquet, but because you want to do this while it's light out and whatnot, we're going to do it special just for you. So they lined up a bunch of the guys who had just gone through the program, and they lined us up. And I had over 20. All right, so the 20 special forces guys are all lined up. Now I had this one guy who was my first jump master. I was going to let him be the one to put the pin in first. Well, he goes and he puts the pin on. He rears back and he goes to punch and he misses and hits me in the clavicle at full speed. And it knocks the wings out. So then he grabs the wings, he puts them back on, and this time someone hands him a steel pot or a World War II helmet. And so he rears back with this helmet and uses this helmet to knock the wings into my chest. And now these special forces guys are coming down the line. Now they intentionally made me the last guy in the line. And they all knew that I was what I was about to do. So they'd kind of lean in, whisper, good luck, brother, rear back, and just knock the living snot out of me. And you see all the other guys in the video of this, and you see them just kind of hit them. But for me, we're standing on this yellow line in the middle of a taxiway for aircraft, and you see me getting knocked off the line over and over and over again. and then the head special forces guy comes across, and he grabs the helmet and he hits it with the helmet. So I get punched in the wings over 20 times, and twice with a helmet, and then once I got hit in the clavicle. So I'm beat up pretty bad. And so finally the announcement's made. So any loved ones that want to come up and do a love tap on their new airborne trooper's wings, feel free to come up. Well, of course, Athena comes up and she just lightly touches it. Well, I drop to my knee like I'm in pain, and she's freaking out. I was like, I heard him. I just heard him. And after she just watched all these burly special forces and Marine Corps guys just beat the crap out of me. And she's freaking out, and I've been palming the ring the whole time. So I grab the ring and I bring it up and ask, "Will you marry me?" And so that's how the proposal went down. And of course she said yes, and all the special forces guys and all the wives and stuff all clamor around, and then we get some photos.
Awesome.
Yeah, we took some photos by the aircraft and stuff. So.
Oh, that's awesome. I was an active duty Army wife for 15 years. And I've seen my share of pinning ceremonies, and the blood never comes out. You just keep washing the BDUs and starching them.
Yep. Yeah, no, I still have the blood stain. And actually I wore one of these underneath. So I still have the original wings pinned to the original shirt with this pattern on it, with the blood on it, and the original set of wings.
That's awesome. As well you should. As well you should.
So and then back in July, I actually jumped out of a Cessna as Aquaman into the St. Johns River.
What? Oh my! Oh my gosh! You do everything. You do everything. I can't. It's just so cool.
Last Saturday I was in Fort Lauderdale for the boat parade, the annual historical boat parade that's been going on for 20 plus years at least. And they had me as, well, if you've ever watched the Macy's Day Parade where they have a celebrity on a float. So I was the celebrity on board a 65-foot sailboat for the nonprofits of Florida, for the Red Cross and Toys for Tots. And they had me all the way up front on the bow, standing on this about a 1.5 foot wide plank for an hour and a half with lights on me, standing there as Aquaman with a little Aquaman Santa hat on and my trident, and just thousands upon thousands of people getting to know who I was going on in the boat parade, because we were boat number 99, and Santa was the last boat 100. So we were the last boat before Santa. So
it sounds like you have a lot of fun.
Well, the way I look at it is, my son never got to grow up, so why should I? So I will forever be playing grown-up dress-up in honor of my son.
I don't think there's any better way to honor him. You have done some amazing things and done a lot of good for a lot of people in his name. I mean, he truly is. I mean, I feel like he's your Force ghost.
Yeah, he is.
He's there with you.
And just like you talked about with your brother, I have a small container of his ashes, and every jump I do, every major event, he was with me on my gear the entire way at the Appalachian Trail. And I would spend days, if not hours upon hours in the day, or days at a time, without ever talking to any real person, but I would always have him to talk to. And just I'd come across a beautiful clearing on a mountainside and just this beautiful view, and say, "Hey, Christian, thank you for that. Thank you for bringing me to this point."
I have goosebumps. Yeah. I just shaved, man. You are just an incredible person, very warm. I mean, I can't wait to come see you guys.
Oh yeah, well, we're looking forward to it too. So, and now my actual occupation now. I mean, my weekends are still conventions, so I call that my weekend job. But my actual day-to-day job is, I'm an occupational therapy practitioner for children with autism and developmental disabilities. So So I try to give back where I can and work with children who need help learning basic skills, and whether it be how to hold a pencil, how to tie their shoes, how to do chores, how to maintain social interactions with other people,
Well, and
safety awareness.
don't occupational therapists also work with, like, my brother? I'm missing my right, well, a lot of my right leg. My brother, the one that's still with us, he was
Hmm.
born missing his left hand, and he had to go to occupational therapy a lot
Yep.
to learn how to function with and without his prosthetic.
Yep.
So your profession has lifelong implications for these children. They are going to think about you every time they pick up a coffee cup, every time
Right.
they fill out a form or talk to somebody in a professional manner. They're going to think about you. And they're going to
Yeah.
think about you in the way of, "God, I am so glad I had Rick. I am so glad I had Aquaman
Well,
to
that's it. They don't
show
know
me
me
how
as
to
Rick.
do
They know
this."
me as Aquaman.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. They tell everybody, yeah, my therapist is Aquaman, and they, like, what?
What a
Like, yeah, he's
gift.
Aquaman.
What a gift. I mean, speaking as someone who has been that child, I grew up in Shriners Hospital for Children in St. Louis. Grew up. My childhood was spent there. I was born with several conditions. One, proximal femoral focal deficiency. Everything from my right hip down was substantially smaller, missing ligaments, tendons, muscle mass, bone density, artery, toes. Didn't have an ankle. It was club footed. I had heel cord extensions. I had leg lengthenings. I mean, I've had more occupational or orthopedic corrective surgeries than I am years old. Um, so I spent my childhood was spent in that hospital. And if it wasn't for comic books and people like you, I would not be who I am today. I would not. I mean, it saved my life. Who
Because you needed that disconnect from reality.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely. And you needed someone who understood that. You needed someone
mhm.
who understood that and knew that one of these days, and this is something that they forget to talk about with disabled children, is that, yeah, we're going to get you to a point where you can function, be a part of society, and but
Your
then you're going to get
independence. Yeah,
middle. Yeah, you be independent, and then one day you're going to get older. And stuff's going to start breaking down whether you want it to or not. But I had wonderful, OTs and PTs that would talk to you about these things. Take care of your body. I know you want to run around and have fun and be with your delinquent friends, but you only have so much cartilage and you have one knee. Like, that's
Mhm.
going to wear down one day. Whether those kids really listen, they're children. But they will remember. They will absolutely
Yeah,
remember, and they will carry that with
and
them the rest of their lives.
and the good thing is I'm there 3 days a week, and in some of their situations, I am the male figure in their life,
Mhm.
and they're and I've never missed a session with these kids. I don't take sick days with them. I make sure I see them. So they have that regimented structure. They know Aquaman will always be there for them. And I get them to call. They'll call me during a weird time and be like, "Yeah, something's going wrong. I just needed somebody to talk to." Okay, I'm here. I'm not on the clock, but I'll be there for you. So they know that I'm always there for them, and I haven't let these kids down in years.
What a
And I've worked.
just so comforting. I started thinking about, I would have to go down to, we called it the shop, Shriners Hospital Orthopedic and Prosthetics. The shop. I'd go down there to, get my lift on my shoe, or then later my prosthetics. And all over the walls were these superhero paintings, Wonder Woman, George Perez style Wonder Woman standing
Hmm.
there, Aquaman. There was a huge Aquaman painting, huge, under the ocean with his trident, sharks and dolphins behind him. And you would, because this is the 80s, man, there really wasn't anything to watch on TV right there. You had nothing else to occupy you while you waited. And, you're going to get have to have things twisted and cranked and try this out, try that out, and you're kind of dreading it. But you just kind of sit and you look up at these big paintings of these superheroes, and it's comforting. And for those kids to have one of those superheroes to step off the page and be there for them and help them and advise them, that's a very, very, very rare and special, special thing.
And I
You are
don't
a
take it for
rare
granted.
person. You are a rare person, and it is an absolute honor to meet you.
Well, thank
I
you. I
mean that.
appreciate that. So,
This is
well, and like you though, I did not grow up, and this is something I don't share with a lot of people. Is this is not my original face. I had facial reconstruction when I was in my teens. I was born with something called Conradi syndrome, which is a calcium deficiency at birth. So I'm just a millimeter away from a cleft lip. So like the roof of my mouth is way high. It's like Mount Everest in there. I can hide a whole spoon of mashed potatoes in my mouth, and you'd never know it. So my nose wasn't developed. I didn't have the. So this is all grafts. So I have a nose graft, cheek graft, lip graft. Everything was done through the nasal cavity, which is one of the reasons I sound nasal, is because of all of that work. So that was all done when I was in my teenager years. So, I mean, I grew up Ricky the Flat-Nosed Boy Scout. I mean, sung to Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. I was shunned. I went to speech therapy. So I was pulled out of classrooms and taken to the special eds area. So I was treated.
I was too. And I've tried to explain this to people that that when you grow up when we did, okay, there were things called the ugly law still in place. There was no Americans with Disabilities Act yet. It was
Correct.
perfectly fine and legal for you to be discriminated against or you asked to leave. And when I went to school, and I've talked to people and people that I do love very much and I'm very close to, but they don't understand. They don't see a difference between a kid getting picked on for being disabled and a kid being picked on for being overweight or poor. Like there is a difference. There's a big difference. And how part of the discrimination was when they saw that you were physically different, when they saw you were physically disabled, there was an automatic assumption that you were also mentally disabled.
Yep.
And they would call you that, question you on it, and the schools would put you in the special needs classes, or they, in my area, called them study skills classes. And they would stuff me in there with the football player who's not very nice to girls, and he's in this class because he probably really needs to be, but they need him to stay on the football team, so he's pretty much getting a pass. And it was miserable, and you're getting made fun of and picked on. And I remember finally my junior or senior year, I said, I don't need this. Why am I in this class? Well, because you're physically disabled. That doesn't mean anything. Why am I in this class? Well, we have to prove we're doing everything for your education. Well, put me on the bus so I don't have to walk. I mean, we could do that, but I don't need this other stuff. Get me a ramp. That's fine. And they wouldn't.
Well, and that's where I had a problem because so I have an older brother who has cerebral palsy. So just like you, he had all the orthopedic work done. He had his experimental surgery. They cut his calf muscles and did all kinds of weird stuff. He had the crutches and the different. Yeah. So I grew up in those departments that you had to spend time in, watching him go through it. So I knew exactly where you are. My mom decided that she wanted to be helpful, so she became a handicapped school bus driver. So she drove the little yellow bus. Well, because she made delivery to the same school that I went to, I didn't get to ride the big bus because she wanted to drop me off. So the kids would see me get off of that bus and not believe that my mom was the driver.
I went through the same thing, but my mom was not the driver.
Yeah. And so then of course I was being pulled out and taken to speech, and speech was being done in the special needs, which was a glass walled front room. So the kids would see me in there. So they were putting 2 and 2 together and getting 7 without ever getting to know me.
Wow, you and I have just related on a level that I don't think I've ever. There's only one other person in this whole wide universe I've been able to relate to, and we lost her last year.
Oh, I'm
And
sorry. I can do.
oh, she's the one I went to Edison's with at Downtown Disney, and
Yeah.
she was a Floridian and she lived in Orlando so she could go to Disney.
Yep.
But
A lot of people do.
that
Uh,
it's very hard to how do you put this in a very polite way? Able-bodied people have no frame of reference.
right.
Zero frame of reference. So we can explain to them. I can explain to you all day what it felt like, what I went through, what happened, but I can't make you understand it. It's
No.
just not possible. You have to live with the acceptance that you have no frame of reference. And some of the things that came out of that did improve. I my personal opinion, I feel we went too far in some situations, because kids do it's kind of like if we take your legs away, if we carry you everywhere, your legs aren't going to be strong enough to stand on your own. So certain things I feel like carried too much. But boy, when us disabled kids were in school in the 80s, man, it was very sink or swim. Like, okay,
Mhm.
here you go.
Yep. Exactly.
Good luck.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh my
Well,
gosh.
and my way of dealing with it was become an overachiever,
Mm,
obviously.
yes, you are
Um,
absolutely right. It's and
so
I
I mean,
yeah.
so if you look back here, you see the one with the red band on there. That's Eagle
Mhm.
Scout. So I'm an Eagle Scout. The one below that, I'm a knight. I'm actually a knight for Sealand. I was knighted. So I'm actually Sir Richard. Um,
That's right.
yeah, you can
You mentioned
yes,
that. So
yeah,
Richard.
you can see some of the medals back there from some of the marathons that I've run.
There's so
Um,
many. I
and
ran
if you can see this wall over here, actually, no, I tilted just slightly so you can see
just
this
tilt it.
wall.
Oh my Lanta.
Yeah, those are all degrees and certificates. Yeah, I have an honorary doctorate in philosophy. I've got 2 master's degrees. I have an MBA. I have a master's in counterterrorism and counterpiracy from American Military University. I've
Boy, my
got
boyfriend's gonna love to meet you.
I've got a bachelor's degree in geography and international affairs, and that relates to a job career that I was in that I don't talk about. I have 2 associate's degrees, and one of which is in
Because
occupational
my
therapy.
grandma was
Yeah.
mishmashme.
I went to Cambridge University. I studied at Cambridge. I
You
studied
went to Cambridge?
at England. I studied Shakespeare and Irish literature during a program
Oh
there.
my gosh, you did not. I
Yes.
love Shakespeare and I'm very Irish. My grandmother,
It's very
who
dark material. Very,
it,
very
it
dark material.
it's dark, um, but it's kind of like, we've suffered all this over here, but we still got a smile on our faces. My grandmother who lives in Florida, where why I'm going next month,
Mhm.
um, very Irish, extremely Irish. I remember one time someone came to buy windows and he had an Irish name and he couldn't find his coat of arms. And she's like, "Well, it was nice meeting you." Like sent him on his way. And she worked in intelligence for the government for 30 years. And she's like the coolest lady ever. I just tell
Oh,
everybody she's just
she and I would get along.
yes, yes. And I
So
asked her if I could, hey, when I come visit, because I'm flying down, can I borrow your car so I can have lunch with a couple new friends of mine? And she's like, sure, but I may have to just bring her because she loves martinis too.
oh, no problem. No problem. The
But
more the
you were
merrier.
saying about the overachiever syndrome.
Oh
I
yeah.
completely understand and relate. I was trying to because recently I'm having to retire from my career, and my career has been cosmetology. I own my own salon, but as I was saying, you get older, and my issues are all very orthopedic. I
Right.
can't stand on my feet anymore. I need a knee replacement. I need back surgery. I need all this stuff. Like I already started having it here and there and everywhere. But you feel like, am I being lazy? I'm being lazy, aren't I? Because who in their right mind who doesn't have legs, like real working usable legs, decides, for 20 years, I think I'm going to stand for 60 hours a week behind a chair while people tell me what to do. I've published a book. I'm a published author. I went to school for psychology. I was a journalist. I was a singer. I've done all these things. And my kids were asking me, like, well, if it's such a problem for you now, Mom, if all you're going to do is complain about it, then why did you do it in the first place? And I had to tell them, you don't understand. There's this mentality you have after being treated the way you get treated
You and
way
I have
back
been treated,
then,
yes.
right? You end up with this mentality that I have to work 3 times as hard as everyone else just to get half the respect, just to get noticed for what I have done, and not, oh, you walk so good. You couldn't even tell. It's like, I want you to ignore that and just say, hey, you did this. Good for you. You earn this respect. So you end up with that overachiever syndrome that I have to be amazing at everything else, so everyone forgets this one little thing that does not define me.
Right. Well, it was like, I didn't do an Ironman. I did 2 because I had to prove that the second or the first one wasn't a fluke.
Follow up. You got to have follow up, follow through.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't just accidentally finish one. I did 2. I don't have just one instructor certification as a scuba instructor. I've got 3. I'm a master diver and a dive master. I'm an instructor with this organization, and not only that, I'm a specialized instructor. And I was a shark diver for Disney for 13 years, where I worked in the tank at Epcot at the Living Sea. Yes. Yeah, I was one of the divers there. I was one of the Mickey safety divers. So when Mickey swam, I was one of his safety divers in the water. I've done Mark V, the big copper pot diving. I've done the commercial diving. I've done law enforcement diving. I was a firefighter dive team leader. So I've done all these different jobs, and it just never seems like enough for me. And so I just I still to this day, I'm 50, I'm almost 53, and I'm about, I still swim 2 miles a day, 3 days a week in a lake at 6 a.m. in the dark. Because if I don't push myself, I know what I could become if I don't push myself.
Exactly. Yes. So. Yeah, I really do need you to meet my shmoo, my Dave, because God love it. He is the best person. He really is. I'm extremely blessed in my life partner. But I never slowed down. I never slowed down at all. I never took my leg off. I never sat down until, we opened the salon, and he said, when you had your knee surgery, we had that wheelchair because, with the left leg down, the right leg is useless. He's like, why don't we bring it in the house? I was like, no. And he said, well, bring it in the house. And when you come home from work, you can take your leg off and you can still get around. Nope. I fought him. And now it's in the house. And now I feel like you're making me fat. I don't think you understand this. He's like, but it's like your knees, you need this for your knees and your back. And the doctor's agreeing with him. Like, what, has everyone just lost their damn minds? What's this? Take care of yourself. Sit down and rest. I know nothing of this. Oh my gosh. You still, no matter what, I think, and this is just my theory, but I feel like because we know what it's like to have that taken away, you don't take it for granted at all. And you want to stuff as much as you can into it and get as much out of this life as you possibly can, because who on earth would understand you only have one life than people like you and I?
Yep. We truly do the YOLO.
This has been an amazing conversation. This has gone. And
you thought it was just a cosplayer, right?
I just knew, I started seeing your pictures and the stuff you were posting and your incredible uniforms. I just got to talk to this guy. This looks like someone I want to talk to. And I'm so glad I did. And I really hope that you come back and do more.
Oh, definitely. I mean,
Because
I love giving back any way I can.
There's an opening now for Aquaman in the DCU. Want me to shoot old James Gunn a tweet?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, we got to meet him at the Suicide Squad premiere, which was really cool. Doing a red carpet. That was my first real red carpet Hollywood premiere, and that was so cool.
I am so desperate to meet. We're from the same neighborhood in St. Louis, and every once in a while, I'm like, "Hey, so James Gunn, I'm going to be over by the Bevo Mill with some toasted ravs and a gooey butter cake. You want to meet me?" He hasn't shown up yet. I still have hope.
Now you got to start. Do you know who Lloyd Kaufman is?
Yes, I do.
Yes.
Yes, I do. And I have cited this before, that this is one of the reasons why they picked him to head the DCU, because they have no money right now. And where James Gunn got his start, that Kaufman was he was known for, well, I need a screw monster and all I have is this screw, and then making it work. And that's who James Gunn is. Yep.
I mean, he started under Lloyd Kaufman, who is best known for Toxic Avenger and the Trauma films. In fact, I went to the Trauma Film School. I actually have my diploma over there from the Trauma Film School.
Of course you did. Mark that one off too.
Yeah, and I've gotten to meet Lloyd Kaufman multiple times, especially at San Diego Comic-Con and up at Dragon Con and stuff. And I thanked him for his program. But yeah, James Gunn was one of his undergrads. He cut his teeth. Just like Trey Parker from
Did you see all the trauma Easter eggs in Peacemaker in the video store where they set up shop? In the name of the store? Yeah.
Well, and Lloyd Kaufman was in Guardians of the Galaxy, one of the prisoners.
I did not
another
know
movie
that.
I believe he did. Yes, he's on the railing, and they panned to him multiple times. So yeah, so he actually brought Lloyd.
Yeah.
So I think James Gunn also did a movie called Super.
Yes, with Rainn Wilson.
Yeah, and Lloyd Kaufman's in that as well. So he brings Lloyd in and he chance to throw him a bone to say thank you for being his inspiration.
Well, every great once in a while, he does respond or like one of my tweets. So I'm gonna be like, "Hey, James, Jim Jam, I've got your new Aquaman. You're welcome."
It would be nice to see going back to the actual look of Aquaman. That was one of the biggest heartbreaks for me, was when the Snyderverse came out, and I pretty much lost all credibility as Aquaman, because everybody would say, "You don't look anything like Jason Momoa. What are you talking about? I'm Aquaman. He doesn't look like Aquaman. He doesn't act like Aquaman. He's Momoa Man." And I've always referred to him as Momoa Man. And I got to meet him. Yeah, I actually got to meet him and had him hold up a sign that has me as the true Aquaman. And that got picked up by Sci-Fi magazine. So it's published.
I got to look that up. I got to look for that. I saw him. I didn't meet him.
He's super tall. Yeah, he's super tall.
Yeah, he's really tall. So like I said, I was an active duty Army wife for a long time, and our first duty station was Schofield Barracks. So like right in the middle of the ocean on Oahu, and and this was 20 something years ago. So it just so happened to be when they were first filming Baywatch Hawaii, and me and this group of Army wives, because that's what you do when you're an Army wife. You get together with other Army wives and you do crafts. And we went to this beach on the North Shore to get these shells and stuff to make these little votive candle holders. And they're like, "Oh, they're filming something over there." And it was Baywatch Hawaii. And there was Jason Momoa. And I remember saying to one of the girls, like, "I don't know any of those people, but that kid is cute." Like, he is cute. And the next time I saw him, was on Atlantis. Oh my gosh. That is awesome. That is
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, so he actually had to show off that I was the true Aquaman. So
That's what he gets. That's what he gets. He had that coming.
yeah, I mean, he's a great guy, and he thought my outfit was really awesome. So it was cool. I mean, it wasn't a long meeting, but it was neat. I mean, I've gotten to meet a lot of cool actors and stuff, and mostly now through to Athena. She has the end with Hollywood. That wasn't really my end, but she has the end. I mean, I'm an actor, and I've done a bunch of movies, a bunch of independent films, and that's one of the other accolades I have now. And I've gotten into producing now, so I'm a producer, getting producer credits now.
Nice.
Yeah, in fact,
Oh,
I'm
man.
acting in a movie, an upcoming movie. It's a sequel to a movie called Boca's. And Boca's, I played Chuck Norris. I had no lines, but I played Chuck Norris. And
That's awesome.
and so in this next movie, Boca's versus Night of the Living Dead, I play an immortal Roman commander who,
Very cool. I can see that.
through the years, he's become a hitman for fallen angels, and he's sent out to take out Boca's, and so I capture Boca's, and Boca's breaks free and kills me, but I'm immortal. So although I die in this one, I come back in the sequel to this one. So I'm actually in a series of these now. So
That's funny. I have this new sponsor. They're called Black Bayou Coffee Roasters, and they're going to some filming or whatever where they're doing a product placement in a movie, and he said it's some kind of independent, kind of scary. I can't remember how he described it. I'll have to ask him, like, is it called Boca's by chance? Anything like that?
Yeah, Boca's is based on a comic book by a good friend of mine, and I'm mad at myself now. Jake Estrada is his name, who penned and wrote the comic, and then he's the main actor. And Jake is about 7 feet tall.
Wow.
He's massive.
I am like
he's this
4'11".
massive guy.
Everyone is tall to me. So when you get someone who's actually like legitimately tall next to me, I look like a sprite, a very round sprite. I do. Well, Rick, this has been one of the best conversations I've ever had. I can't thank you enough for coming on. Like, this has been awesome. I'm really
thank Athena. Thank Athena.
Oh, well, I'll thank her too. I will shoot her a message thanking her. And I owe her a big apology for how long it took for that video to come out. Oh my God. My computer literally exploded. It did. There was oh my gosh. I was halfway done.
I hope it doesn't do it again.
No, I got a new one. This is all new.
Okay.
I had a Dell laptop that I'd been doing all my editing on for over a year, and an external hard drive. And I had a problem with my software. They sent me an update. I finally get halfway through my interview with Athena, and then all of a sudden it starts glitching and like, what's that smell? And the software killed my computer. It just killed it. I lost everything for my channel because it was on that external hard drive, and it got that too.
Oh.
Yeah. So my wonderful Shmoo got me a Mac and got me new software and stuff. So I'm back on a schedule, but now I got to edit Wikipedia and a new Brian Sipe. I have a friend who does he does makeup, special effects makeup, like Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka. That's him. Drax, Taserface, Gamora, you name it. He does that stuff. So
awesome.
We had a conversation the other night. It was like 4.5 hours long. Like, buddy, I'm gonna have to break this up. I'm just gonna have to break this up. You're gonna have to take some time on that. So I gotta edit Wikipedia, an hour of that interview, and then I've got yours, and then I can actually start doing character breakdowns again. All because I had too strong a software for my little Dell laptop.
Well, I had to upgrade my phone because I'm now getting into doing a lot more action cam work. So I have a new GoPro Hero 11, and I've got the new Instacam 360 X3, which are both action cams. And So yeah, I'm going to be doing, like, when I jump out of aircraft and stuff, I'm actually going to
Oh,
be,
that's so cool.
I'm going to be covered with cameras, so you'll see the whole experience from different angles and different ways. Um, so that's going to be cool. But I have to upgrade my phone because the editing software
Mhm.
on the 11 wouldn't handle the rendering with all this
Ah.
high quality footage. So I had to get the 14 Pro just to be able to keep up, and I had to get a terabyte of memory on the phone.
I was using just my my iPhone 12 Pro Max for all my YouTube stuff. 'Cause I don't have a camera yet, but the camera on it is really good. So I've been using that.
Well, I've got a great editor, guy named Matt Myers from North Carolina, and
Yeah.
basically, he does all my YouTube channel videos. He's a great guy, love him to death. I helped him lose a whole bunch of weight, and he now goes out and rucks all the time because of me. And we met back when the original Star Wars documentary was done, and he was part of that team that worked on the original Star Wars. So I've known him
Yeah.
since my son passing, and we're like friends for life. And so yeah, but now with the action cam work, I now have to pre-edit footage and then send it to him. Before, I could just shoot something with my phone and send it to him, and he'd put it all
Mhm.
together. So because I have two YouTube channels, Aquaman Adventures, which is my going to conventions, doing crazy swim, jumping out of airplanes, all that, and then I had Aquaman on the Appalachian, which was a set of videos that documented my trip. And so all these other YouTubers that were on the trail with me would be sitting there at night in their tents, just trying to work on their phone, trying to edit and upload and get a
And
signal.
you're just going,
I'm just like sending it all to him, and they're like, "How did you get that video? It looks so
trade
good." And all
secret,
that.
Ed. Trade secret.
I tell them straight up, "No, I'm a professional editor." Like,
I don't know if I could
jealous.
hand over that. I'm too controlling creatively with my channel. Like, nope, no thanks. I got it. You won't do it right. That might be the mom in me, though.
Maybe.
When something done, do it
I
yourself.
don't mind. I don't mind him doing. Yeah, he understands how to do all the tech stuff. Me and technology don't belong that great. So
So
I can
other
do the
than
crazy stuff.
your two super cool YouTube channels, your Aquaman Adventures and Aquaman on the Appalachian Trail, right? So
Yeah, or Aquaman
okay.
on the AT.
Okay. How else can people find you? Like,
So on Instagram, and Facebook, it's The True Aquaman, and then on on Twitter, it's The King Aquaman. So
we will have.
those are my three. Yeah, I don't do TikTok, unfortunately. A lot of people want me to get involved with that.
I
and it's like,
don't
nah.
understand TikTok. I have it to promote the channel, but I very self-aware that I have no idea what I'm doing with it. I have no
Yeah,
idea
I'm
what
in
I'm
my
doing.
50s. Yeah, I'm in my 50s. I don't do weird dances and stuff. So
Yeah, we tease the girls like you got the ticketa the tic tac going on over there. Like, what are you doing? Yeah, it was my 14-year-old who had to teach me how to use it initially. I was like, oh, okay. I don't want to do dances.
I know I'm just happy now that Instagram and Facebook, like if I paste on one, it automatically goes to the other, so I don't have to sit there trying to do all these.
Yes,
posts.
it's so handy. I have someone to help me with the social media stuff, but still, I feel like I have to spend so much time just doing this. I'm too old for
Yeah,
that.
I don't know how. Yeah, I don't know how all these providers do it just all the time. It's like, I mean, I do a lot of stuff, and now I have the action cam to take with me, which will help.
Right.
But yeah, it's I don't have time to think about the shot. I'm just out there doing it. It's like, oh, well, I would have had this bracket that would have had it here. No, I'm just, if you can catch the footage while I'm doing it, great. If not, it wasn't meant to be. So, and people only see about a tenth of what I actually do.
Oh my gosh. I plan on having stuff like little check marks going off every time you've mentioned something, like, and by the time we're done, this whole screen is going to be covered with check marks.
Oh, maybe when you're in town, I'll let you see my lovely room. So you can see all this stuff.
Yay! All right, Rick, I will let you
So,
go. I'm sure with all that you do in a day, I have taken up almost 2 hours of your time, and you're probably way behind schedule now. So you've got like 3 more
no,
degrees and 4 more diplomas to get.
no, I already worked with. I have a 92-year-old Marine that I work with. I take him out for walks and take him swimming in a lake, and so no, I worked with him today. So today's my off day. Tomorrow morning, I'm back at it at 4 a.m. I'll be working out at 4 a.m. So.
Oh my goodness gracious! Well, I will let you enjoy your off day, and I'll talk to you soon. And
Yes.
then I will see you soon.
Happy holidays.
Yeah.
Happy holidays to
Happy
you.
holiday. I can't even talk anymore.
Yeah.
Happy holidays. Happy New Year. Ladies and gentlemen, Rick Stafford. I mean, look at this guy. His wall of impressiveness. Guys, definitely go subscribe to his channels. Follow him on all the socials and just see for yourself what all this guy does and how much he is Aquaman. We've got the proof. It's in the comic books. He is Aquaman. Thank you so much, Rick. Thank you.
My pleasure so much.
Thanks, nerdlings. We will see you in the next one. Bye.